Hey guys, today we will be enduring at least 120 amps of psychic damage, so be sure to wear your special lotion, and let's get into it. I often find myself scouring the internet for terrible content. I do it for you. It's for you guys. And along the way, I'm often exposed to this very specific genre of video, either on TikTok or like Instagram Reels. It's usually 1 to 3 guys that I've never heard of, sitting in a very professional looking podcast studio. And the video is just like a highlight from their podcast. Except instead of it just being like a couple of friends sitting around talking about cryptids or politics, it's a whole ass video, okay? We're talking 2 to 3 professional microphone setups, 3 to 4 different camera angles, all sorts of shit. High production value. There's gonna be some dramatic music slapped over the clip. There's always text at the top to grab your attention, like 3 things men should never say to their dog or whatever the fuck. Another element I always notice in these videos is this very erratic way of adding closed captions to their videos. Now, of course, I'm in favor of closed captioning. However, this is not like the accessible closed captioning for, people who have hearing loss or anything like that. I really like closed captions on video, so I'm not hating this. It's just an element that I've noticed they use a lot. And I know that they do it specifically for the benefit of having people watch their video, even if they can't turn the sound on their phone, right? Like if they're in public, they're not going to turn on like a motivational podcast clip in public. I hope not. But this seems to be like the favorite video format for like get rich quick gurus and alpha bros who want to say something misogynistic and get attention for it. And I just find myself thinking, why do you need a podcast? Why does every man need a podcast? Now, don't get me wrong. I do like video podcasts. For example, the Kool-Aid clip from Tom Segura's podcast is probably one of my favorite videos of all time.
The Kool-Aid? You drinking Kool-Aid to start your day? Really?
It's so good.
What kind?
Red.
You are drinking Kool-Aid.
Yeah. It's awesome.
You're drinking a fucking 64 ounce Kool-Aid.
The difference is Tom Segura is a successful comedian trying to make hilarious podcasts with his friends. He isn't trying to sell me a course about how I can become a real estate agent during a housing crisis.
So much sugar!
Tom Segura isn't trying to convince us that he's wealthy and so can you. Tom Segura is making fun of his friend for drinking a gallon of Kool-Aid every day.
People walk around and they're like, good for that guy. He drinks a lot of water. It's Kool-Aid.
Another example is the very controversial Joe Rogan podcast. And even though I'm not a fan, I know there are massive amounts of people out there who will sit down and watch that video podcast, the whole thing, the 2-3 hour long video podcast that he makes, So it makes sense. Higher production value, different camera angles, nice background, all that stuff. It makes sense. But when Corbin McSales makes a TikTok of a highlight from his podcast about how rich he is and how he can teach you to become rich, I have a harder time believing that anyone is actually going to go watch the full podcast episode. If there even is a podcast episode. It kind of feels like they just make the podcast just to get those clips to post on social media in a sad attempt to go viral. Well, fellas, today's your lucky day, because a girl on YouTube with a bad attitude and 11,000 subscribers is finally going to get you the exposure you wanted. So without further ado, let us answer the question, should men be allowed to buy microphones? And there's going to be an extremely important announcement at the end of this video, so be sure to stick around for that, because it's pretty funny, I think. So this one is from a guy named Jason Capital. More like Chasin' Capital. Sorry.
So I would tweak education. And then
What would you change?
Well, just what they're learning and who they're learning it from. I want to learn from.
So they're talking about what they'd change about education. I love that they've added little clips at the bottom for us from like South Park and memes and stuff. Maybe I'll do that in my videos from now on, just kind of like while I'm talking, just have like a constant feed of South Park playing on the side. That way you guys can like stay captivated.
Someone who built a 10-figure company, not a professor who read about it.
Okay, so he's saying that the people who teach at schools should be the people who built a 10-figure company, or we should be learning from them. We shouldn't be learning from a professor. Okay? Because I don't know if you guys remember this in school, but what we learn in school actually is and should be based around money. It shouldn't be about culture or history or math or any of those things, okay? It's all about chasing that capital.
Not a professor who read about it, who learned it from a professor, who learned it from a professor, who learned it from a professor. I mean, if all these professors were so smart, how come they're not billionaires?
Great question.
There's no theory and you haven't actually done it. There's so many of these little distinctions that you pick up just through experience that can't be learned in a book.
Yeah, they didn't teach me at school like how hard it would be to go down to the permit office when I'm remodeling 15 fucking houses. I've heard this my entire life about how like, oh, they should teach different stuff in school and like they should teach us how to do our taxes and they should teach us how to do this and that and the other thing. I love this idea that it was like, oh, you couldn't learn this stuff in school, but you know where you can? You can buy my course. But now we're coming fully around to the idea of we should sell my course to schools. He's just saying you can't learn this stuff in a book. So we should have a himbo capitalist real estate professor teach it to the kiddos because we don't want a nerd teaching our kids book stuff. Cool, got it. Great clip. So you'll remember last week, because you watched it, that I did a video with Jarvis fucking Johnson about a little guy named Jimmy Rex. If you haven't watched that video, go watch it after this one, because I feel like it's actually not performing super well. And I was thinking you guys would be excited that I had Jarvis on the channel. So get your shit together. Maybe because I posted it on a Friday night. That was such a fun video to make, so I think you'll enjoy it. But this clip is from Jimmy Rex's podcast. So it says, the correct way to get a mentor, the Jimmy Rex Show, Real Estate Episode 14, featuring Cody Sperber.
So many people hit you and I up on Instagram, a DM, right? And will you mentor me? Will you coach me?
Yes.
Will you invest in my company? And it's like, I don't even read past the first
it's almost
word.
an automatic just delete now.
Okay, let's start out with the premise that they're saying they get reached out to so much by people wanting to be mentored by them. Maybe that's true, but it kind of feels like a lie. The reason I included this clip is because actually everything that comes out of Cody Sperber's mouth sounds like a lie. And I think you guys will agree with me. Let's watch it.
It's like, listen, you're approaching this so wrong. Yeah. Study Jimmy. Find what he's into. Find what charities he's into. Find what things that he likes to do. Serve your way into his inner circle. Be a great gift giver. Get his attention in other ways, not the ding dong, hey, will you mentor me? It's like, no, bro, I have a $137 coaching program. If you can't invest $137, you're not cut out for business.
Okay, I get the part where he's like, you got to show a track record of showing me that you're serious. Maybe you're spamming every person online asking them, will you be my mentor? Show me that you're actually truly interested in me. In a way, I agree with that, but then he spins it and he's like, you can afford my $137 course. Okay, so now he gets into the story about this kid that he mentored.
I mentored this kid named Josiah. He was 17 when he came to me. Did the same thing, identical. I'll work for you for free. I'll do whatever it takes. He was relentless for like 9 months trying to get my attention. I just blew him off. I finally said to him, look, if you buy my $1,000 course, go through it, take notes. I'll go to lunch with you. And I'll spend an hour with you at lunch. You're paying, obviously. But I'll hang out with you at lunch and I'll answer any question that you want. You got me for an hour.
How fucked in the head do you have to be like, if you want attention from me, first buy my $1,000 course. Then you take me to lunch and I'll give you 1 hour. 1 hour. It's like this Gary Vee mentality that all these guys have taken on and run with. And it's really obnoxious because no one should treat anyone like this.
He borrowed the money from his mom, bought the $1,000 course, went through it.
Oh, he borrowed the money from his mom. Great. These like get rich quick stories often fold stuff like that in where like it takes going into debt. I was watching that new show on Netflix called Worst Roommate Ever. The first episode, it was like this man who was like homeless and he was living off of Social Security. And sure enough, there was like a boarding house where this woman was scamming all these different people out of their Social Security. Spoiler alert, but she like poisons them, buries them, keeps collecting their Social Security. This is not a new tale. People have been doing the same kind of thing with like life insurance scams, all sorts of stuff for all time. Anyways, when we were watching, someone said something along the lines of, I'm so poor, what do you even have to scam me out of? But just because you're poor and you have nothing does not mean you cannot be scammed. People will take advantage of your vulnerability and scam you out of your last fucking dollar. People like him, he's targeting a young guy who barely has any money. He borrows the money from his mom to pay for a $1,000 course. That $1,000 is arbitrary. He just came up with that number. It's probably a fucking lie anyways, but he just put the price on there because he wants to say, I have a $1,000 course. It's not worth $1,000. He put that worth on it, and he's willing to let some kid spend his mom's money to take it so that he can get rich. So we'll see how that ends up.
Hit me up and said, I have my questions. I'm ready to take you to lunch. Takes me to like, Denny's or whatever. We eat food. He peppers me with questions, begs me for a job, says, I'll work for you for free. I said, fine. I said, here's your first thing that I need you to do. And I put across the table an eviction notice. And I said, I got tenants that aren't paying. You need to go evict them. I shit you not. That was the first job.
That is the worst thing in all of real estate, bro. That is the worst thing you could possibly give somebody.
So yeah. He ends up, this is a really long clip, but basically he goes on to say, instead the kid went and got the money from the people so he didn't have to evict them, and now he's making millions a month or something like that. Let's see what he says. Oh shit, I just liked the video.
I'm not bragging, but I'm bragging a little bit, making about $2 to $3 million a month right now, all profit.
Oh, he's profiting $2 to $3 million a month now. Okay. Can I please take your $1,000 course? So yeah, that was just a fun little video where this guy exploited the free labor of a naive child to go evict someone for him to prove that he has the it factor. Gross. Gross. I feel like if you've ever, even slightly, had empathy for someone on the other side of that equation, that is a horror story. Oh yeah, but my point is like, is there really like a 2-hour episode of them sitting here talking like this? So let's watch another one. I really liked this one because, again, they put a lot of really funny effects and graphics over the top. This one is by Real Estate Disruptors.
Then, at this point, 0 flipping experience. 0. I bought my first flip with no experience at all.
Wow. That was so cool how they inserted a car flipping because they're talking about flipping houses.
So my very first, I kind of bought like 3 at the same time because that's how I am. I'm like, when I want to do something, I'm like. I mean, this is by a BMW with no commissions. Yeah.
That was such an awkward edit. Oh my God, why did they zoom in like that? Like, and leave in the really awkward laugh.
Yeah. So around, I think 2019, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go all in. I'm going to just figure it out. And bought my first deal with a tenant in it. He was supposed to move out, but then...
So he bought a house with a tenant in it who was supposed to move out.
Like the day we closed, I called him. I was like, I think his name's Larry. I was like, hey, Larry, like, just to let you know, I'm the new homeowner, so when you...
Who is editing these fucking clips for these guys? This is a very chuggy way to edit videos. Once in a while, you got to throw your favorite clip in, especially if you reference it or something. I get it. But when people do this, where they like back up their dialogue in post-production with like pop culture references, And just to be clear, I did this when I first started editing videos, and now I look back on it as like, ooh.
Plan on moving out. He cursed me out. Said he's never moving out, said it was his house. So I had to go through.
You guys are chuckling and putting South Park clips over this. The guy on the phone is upset because you're fucking kicking him out of his house.
Said it was his house, so I had to go through the eviction process in
Okay, so he went through the eviction process. He got Larry out of the house.
California, which takes forever.
It's a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, but then that house didn't need that much work. I paid a guy $15,000 just to paint the house. It was like 1,000 square foot house. But ended up, everything went well, sold it, and yeah, that was like one of my first flips.
So you had to evict the guy and then pay $15,000.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you still made money on that deal.
Yep.
That's
So
fantastic.
Yeah, I got lucky.
took some fucking guy's house, slapped a coat of paint on it, and immediately resold it for a profit. That should be illegal. You kicked a guy out of his home just so that you could squeeze a little money out of the real estate market and flip it. You don't need the house. You're not ever gonna live there. He didn't even fucking fix it up. So he evicted the guy and paid 15 grand to get it painted, and he still made money in the deal. What the fuck am I supposed to get out of that? If I was listening to a podcast of people that I like, obviously I would never listen to Real Estate Disruptors podcast. But if I was listening to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a podcast I like. Fucking Hoot and Holler, what's up guys? And they started talking about the time that they flipped a house, I would never fucking listen to that podcast again. I would be so pissed if they were laughing about evicting a guy. And so to imagine that there are people unironically listening to these podcasts, not only listening, but enjoying this story, really blows my mind. And to frame it like this was, you're the good guy. You are a bad person. Look, and Larry might not have been paying his house, but that's between him and the bank. And the fact that predatory real estate agents can come swoop in and flip his house really sucks. And if it was happening to your dad or your grandpa or your brother or whatever, you would definitely not be giggling about it and slapping Simpsons references over it. So it's a little surreal when I'm watching these clips. This is Brad Leah from AlphaCon. This guy I think we should listen to. Hear me out. So the caption on the screen, of course, in black and red says, "This makes you immediately unattractive."
Is brushing your teeth a win? You guys are thinking, dude, that's obvious. Okay, well, how come I've had 1 million people come up to me and freaking want to talk business and their breath smells like they ate a sandwich?
Okay, that's pretty funny. Now, I'm sure he'll get into the actual thing that he's talking about that makes you immediately unattractive in business.
Like, they couldn't even figure out how to brush their teeth that morning. And I'm thinking, damn, dude, is this for real? So at the end of the day, it's like you start to think, man, just because you think it's normal doesn't mean it's normal for everybody else.
True. Sometimes we think something is normal, like that people should all brush their teeth, but other people don't think about it as much. For example,
I brush my teeth at least twice a day, and sometimes in the middle of the day. But I've always got breath spray. Why? Because I'm not an idiot. People are going to talk to you.
The whole video is just about brushing your teeth. This makes you immediately unattractive. This guy is giving business advice, and he's not wrong. But I just think it would be really funny if you went to AlphaCon or one of his other million events where he gets up on stage and speaks, and the entire time he's just talking about how people don't fucking brush their teeth.
But I've always got breath spray. Why? Because I'm not an idiot. People are going to talk to you, and you're going to want to have good breath. You can only do it twice before you're the bad breath dude. I know somebody, the breath is so bad every time I talk to him, it's unbelievable. In fact, when I'm swiping on social media and I see a story where he's talking, I can smell his breath. You don't want to be the bad breath dude.
That's it. I love and hate these guys so much. They're so funny. That's enough of that. I think you guys get my point about these weird guys with these podcasts. Would you listen to a 2-hour podcast about this? I feel like it would get exhausting to listen to them talk. I can barely get through a 2-minute fucking video where they're talking. I can't imagine listening to it for, 90 minutes or something. That's crazy town. I do like podcasts. There are a couple that I really like, and they definitely are not motivational. Let's just say that. They're entertaining. Sometimes they're educational, but they are not motivational. So as promised, it's now time for a very special announcement.